Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK journey video. In this video we're going to be starting somewhat of a series going in depth on specific stats that heroes can have in this game. So we're going to lead it off by talking about a pretty important stat, which is haste. So we're first going to go in detail about what haste is providing to your heroes, and then also what are the key compositions taking advantage of haste buffs or just high haste onto your heroes in Dream Realm and PvP. So let's take a specific hero here, for example Brutus. So in the lower right hand corner there's an I button next to his power level right below the season level, and that is going to pull up all of the hero stats. And then you can click on any of these stats, the names of them, for example haste, and it will pull up a detailed description of what this is providing. So what we're going to do for haste is we need to compare it with attack speed, because haste is very similar to attack speed, but it has some additional bonus on top of whatever attack speed is providing. Okay, so haste. Every point of haste increases the frequency of the unit's normal attacks and skills by 1%, and the attack animation speed by 1%. So basically, haste is going to increase your frequency of attacks. So it's basically like attack speed, but on top of that, it is also going to increase your skill casting frequency, meaning slightly lower the cooldown of your skills. Attack speed, the wording is almost the same. Increase the frequency of the unit's normal attacks by 1% and attack animation speed by 1%. Haste does the same thing, but also it does it to skills on top of that. So that's how you can differentiate the two. And so they're pretty similar. Okay, so that is haste. Now, let's give an example. So Haste is a great example because in Dream Realm, a lot of the teams are going to basically take advantage of lowering the cooldown of his Vicious Sting, because this ability deals HP per second damage and it can stack onto the enemy. So if you can cast it more frequently, you're going to be able to deal more damage. Okay, so you want to lower his cooldown. So for example, let's say that we can give Haste 100 haste. That is 100% faster normal attacks, but also 100% faster skill casting. And that doesn't mean that, for example, the cooldown goes from 11 seconds all the way down to 0, like 100% reduction. It's not like that. 100% haste is going to give him half his cooldown. So basically 11 seconds is going to go down to 5.5 seconds. Because then if you do a calculation, the difference between the two, 11 and 5.5, is 5.5. And 5.5 divided by the new final amount, which is 5.5, that is going to be 1, which is 100%. So that's basically how it works, and they're diminishing returns. For example, if you have 200 haste, then rather than going down to half, it will go down to a third. Basically, 2/3 are going to be knocked off of your cooldown, and 1/3 will be remaining. And if there's 300 haste, then it'll go down to a quarter, and there will be 3/4 knocked off, 1/4 remaining. Basically, that's how it is. But so that's the thing. The more haste you give him, the less value each unit of haste is going to provide for his skill cooldown reduction. So you get the most value from a lower amount of haste. Okay. Now, a lot of heroes are going to just by default have haste in their stats. And they will even have these at for example, epic quality. If you look at, for example, Luca here, he will have haste of 10. He has 10 haste, even starting at an epic quality. And for example, Haste, he has a haste of 18. Some heroes will gain haste from their hero focus upgrades, some will get it from the exclusive equipment upgrades, and some will just have varying amounts of haste. So one hero, for example, that I know gets haste from the exclusive equipment is Talene. And normally the only heroes which will gain haste are somewhat of offensive heroes. Usually the defensive heroes and tanks do not gain haste in the exclusive equipment upgrade. Talene gets A tier, for example. So let's talk about some key ways of increasing haste on your team. So for Dream Realm, Mikola. Mikola is the first one that comes to mind when you think about a haste buff, because her Courage Sphere is going to provide 40 haste buff to your allies and a 30 haste buff to herself. And this is a huge amount, and this is why in a lot of top Dream Realm teams, Mikola is using every single team along with Haste in order to apply this haste buff onto both of the Haste and his illusion to have the faster skill casting of Vicious Sting. You don't really care about the faster normal attacks because that doesn't contribute a lot of damage in the bosses. It's all about faster skill casting of their Vicious Sting. But Mikola is not the only hero that provides it in Dream Realm. You also have Smokey. Smokey will also provide a haste buff, but it's a little bit more confusing with him. So Smokey on Improved Aroma 2 is going to grant haste to allied heroes, but what that means is you will level up the aroma's effects. So he will have to cast ultimate 2 times before it starts giving a haste buff to your allies. That is an important thing because your basic aroma when you start the match before casting ultimate is aroma level 0 basically. And then aroma level 1 is going to be expand the range by 1 child. That's after first ultimate cast. After second ultimate cast, then he begins granting 30 haste to all allies affected by the aroma. And so that's another 30 haste for potentially both for Esther and his illusion. So then with Mikola's 40 and Smokey's 30, that goes up to 70. Already base haste for Esther is 18. That goes up to 88 haste already. And then there is another way to contribute more haste to your heroes. It is from Shakir. So Shakir in his wolf form with his Lupine's aura will grant 25 haste to non-summoned, basically your other ally team members who are within the 2-tile radius. And both Presto and his illusion, the initial illusion, count as non-summoned allies. And so he is going to be providing this 25 haste to both of them. So all in all, we're already going to be up to 88 plus 25 potentially, which is 113. So you can get up to 113 haste if your team is using Shakir, Mikola, Smokey, and Freester all in the same team. And there are some teams which are doing that. And that is a massive haste boost. 113 haste. Vicious Sting will go down to below 5.5 seconds. And it will last, the duration of it is a 6-second duration. And you can stack it like we mentioned. So that is one of the key ways of like basically taking advantage of haste in Dream Realm bosses on this high HP per second damage abilities. In the same way, it is also, you can take advantage of it with Ludovic. Because Ludovic, his base haste, let's take a look at that, that's 20. And if you can somehow increase his haste further, like for example, just with the Smokey Aura 30 bonus haste, he is going to have a reduced cooldown on this active form of his Life Weaver's Bloom. And this also deals HP per second damage in Dream Realm. And so for example, just running Smokey and his base haste of 20, that's already going to take him up to 50 haste. And that should be around like a 2.5 second, I think, or a bit over 2.75 second or so reduction in the cooldown of this ability. Just from those two alone. And if you can get in Mikola buffing him as well with the 40 haste, which you can actually do in the Orison Dream Realm boss, and I think that's one reason why he's now become the best option in Orison Dream Realm, then you can get that cooldown even lower. And again, you can apply that HP per second damage, and I'm assuming it would stack with the Ludovic as well. So that's basically how you take advantage of haste in Dream Realm to maximize your damage output. Of course, attack buff is also important, and attack stat of your heroes, because the damage is going to be based on the attack of these heroes. But the haste will reduce that cooldown by quite a bit. But there are diminishing returns. That is the thing to mention. If you already are having a lot of haste, additional haste on top of that is hardly going to reduce the cooldown much further compared to the previous units, but it still does make a difference. Now, for the normal attack speed, the normal attack speed, which is also going to be provided by the haste, is not as useful in Dream Realm because these heroes, they do not do high damage with their normal attacks. However, in PvP, this is where haste gets even more value, because not only will you have faster cooldowns, you'll also have more attack speed, like faster normal attacks. So for heroes who are actually depend a lot on their normal attacks, like Odie for example, they can take a big advantage of haste. So now when we think about PvP, the hero which comes to mind first in my head as a key haste buffer is Damian. So Damian, from his Mythic Plus ability, his Toy Chariot will activate a music halo when it responds to emergency support for the first time, and it will inspire the non-summoned allies within 2 tiles and increase the haste by 40 for 10 seconds, and it goes up to 50 and even 55 at plus 15, but again, you do not need to go plus 10 is really the nice breakpoint, 50 haste. So if we're talking about, for example, like Damian is not usually run with Odie, but let's say Lily May. So we have Lily May, and we can take a look at her base haste, whatever that is. That is going to be 29, so she has a lot of haste. She must be getting some from her exclusive equipment. Yeah, so she has 29 haste. Damian going to add another 50 on top of that. That will take her up to 79 haste. And just that alone, that's almost 80% faster normal attacks, which is good for her because she deals damage from her normal attacks. And also 80% faster skill casting. So for example, Rainstorm Ballet is one of her key abilities for PvP, right? It's a 20-second cooldown. Also, Haste will get more value when the hero has longer cooldowns, because you're going to be cutting off more of that time. So let's say you just have 80 haste, Damian and her based haste, 80% reduction in this. That is going to be, so 100% reduction we said would take her down to 10 seconds, half the time. 80% would take her around about maybe a bit more, 11-12 seconds cooldown of this. And the thing is, she's untargetable while casting this. It usually lasts for 3 or 4 seconds at least. So like with enough haste, you can actually get it to a point where she is basically going to be equal in time to be in Rainstorm Ballet and out of Rainstorm Ballet. And then she's insanely strong, because this is how she solos teams and basically is so she has such good survival. So haste is a really good stat for Lily May. Of course, it's good for her in other ways, like providing her any sort of buffs is going to give her an immediate growth stack to power up her attack and also give her that true damage. So another great application of the haste buff of Damian is on Scarlita. Because Scarlita, if there are enough surviving allies, she's going to be dealing true damage. And so this true damage should be applying even onto her normal attacks. And haste is going to give her that faster normal attack speed as well, which is going to increase her damage. But also it will allow her, if she can get more attacks in, she's going to charge up her energy faster and she can get off her ultimate combo quicker. Because the key thing with Scarlita in PvP teams is whichever Scarlita can cast ultimate first, they're usually the ones who are going to win. And the faster she can cast ultimate, the easier she can knock off enemies from the board. So that is why haste is a really good stat for Scarlita. Increasing her damage by increasing the normal attack speed, and also it increases her skill cooldowns. And you have her Valkyrie Spirit skill here, which is on a 3-second cooldown. Now, the thing is, haste is not going to provide a great benefit to this, because like we mentioned, because it's already so short of a cooldown, you're not going to get that much time knocked off. But still, if you can even get it down to a 2-second cooldown, it is going to be more valuable and make Scarlita overall stronger. So that's a key hero I think about when it comes to like Damian haste buffing, Scarlita, Lily May, the 2 key heroes. Now, what are some other ways of getting bonus haste onto your heroes? There is artifacts, and artifacts have always played a good role in this. Even the non-seasonal artifact Star Shard spell. This is a spell which was used in a lot of AFK stages. It provides you haste. It was mainly used because of the damage output it has in AFK stages, but haste is also useful. Faster skill casting, like lowering your cooldowns of your skills and also increasing your normal attack speed. But now when we look at the seasonal ones, there's some really high amounts of haste. Tide Coil spell is a good example, 9.8 haste. I run this in my Scarlita stall team. It will again benefit Scarlita, and along with Damian, it increases the haste amount of Scarlita even further, 9.8, just based on this artifact alone, without the active effect. An artifact which has an active, like a basically buff, which will increase the haste, is Verdant Spell. Verdant Spell will have 30 haste granted to support class heroes. So for example, if you're running Mikola in the team, Smokey in the team, Coco in the team, they're going to get that haste, and they'll be able to cast their skills more frequently and also have faster normal attack. And faster normal attack for supports, it usually doesn't, like, the damage is not what you're worried about, but it will allow them to charge up their energy faster, because each time you hit them with an attack, normal attack, you're going to charge your energy meter, and you can cast your ultimate faster. So, and then of course the Resonating Spell is another key artifact that has haste. It's used in Dream Realm as well. It gives a 7 haste to your entire team, but it is also used very effectively in PvP. And this is going to be another way that haste can be incorporated into like different teams. So with all that covered, it kind of shows you the value of haste in this game, and it's a really big deal. Honestly, haste is one of the big stats, and Dream Realm definitely takes advantage of it. Like, if you didn't have such major increases in haste to boost the skill casting of Fiesto, for example, his damage would be much lower from the Vicious Sting. But then there are other heroes, for example, Smokey's damage is not going to be affected by the haste, and his damage output is really high in Dream Realm bosses. And of course, there are a bunch of heroes that, other than what I've mentioned in this video, that will benefit from haste, lowering their cooldowns, increasing their normal attack speed, and of course, with that faster normal attack casting, they're going to be charging up their energy faster to cast ultimates more frequently. So there's a lot of values of haste, and that's what just something you have to consider when you think about how important is haste to my team. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully it was a helpful look into Haste as a stat. It is overall one of the more powerful stats, and definitely a stat which is taken advantage of in both PvP and in Dream Realm. And it's another reason why, for example, Mikola is a pretty strong PvP hero, because that Courage Sphere, not only does it apply combat fury to increase like damage dealt by your allies, but that Haste is pretty meaningful. It does make a difference. And yeah, so what I consider Haste is just basically attack speed with a bonus on top of it. And you can stack attack speed and haste together. For example, your attack speed plus your haste, both of them will be increasing your normal attack casting, basically frequency. But the haste is going to be specific also to the skill casting frequency, which attack speed does not provide. But anyway, guys, let me know what you thought about this video, and if you have any other thoughts about haste as a stat or how you take advantage of it in different game modes or with different heroes, let me know, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next video. But thank you guys for watching, and until then, everyone, peace out for now.